Hey everyone, I have another guest today, Elijah. How's it going, Elijah?
It's going all right. It's a beautiful day here in Colorado, and I'm just like really excited to write some code, I guess, today and talk about it.
Wonderful, wonderful. So for people that don't know who Elijah is, he is the creator, is that correct? Creator, Elijah, of Harper?
Sure. Yeah, I like the word author because
Author?
it implies a certain amount of I don't know literature
Okay,
mindset.
okay.
But yes,
Okay, author of Harper. So if you don't know what Harper is, it's an alternative for Grammarly. It's open source. Would you like to give us a quick demo before we get to know you a little bit better?
yeah. So Harper is a grammar checker, and it's designed. It was designed from the ground up to be fast and private. So that means, unlike Grammarly or Language Tool, I'm painting in broad strokes here, but unlike Grammarly and Language Tool, Harper doesn't send your data anywhere. It stays on your device no matter what, wherever you're using it. So in my case, my most frequent use of Harper happens inside of my text editor when I'm writing code. So here we have the Harper README. Harper can detect a variety of different grammatical errors. So it can do agreement errors, spelling mistakes. It can identify like if you're using the wrong kind of contraction, that kind of thing. So Harper is, like I said, it's designed to be very fast. It's designed to get out of your way. So I find that a lot of people who are using Grammarly, their biggest complaint is that they are spending a lot of time just waiting for Grammarly to do its thing.
Yeah.
And the goal for Harper is you should be able to fix the grammatical errors in your work while you're doing it, so that you don't have to context switch. You can just stay in the writing flow, and you're not getting distracted with a variety of different things.
So everything remains local, right? Harper doesn't have to reach out anywhere. Everything, like the dictionaries that I use, I don't know how it works, but the dictionaries that it uses downloads them locally, and it uses that. It doesn't have to contact.
I'm happy to get into the technical details, but yes, it is always local no matter what. So like even on our website, we have like a little demo here that like showcases how it can insert Oxford commas, that kind of thing, and improve the idiomatic nature of your writing. All of this is happening in your browser on your device. So anything you type into this text box stays on your device.
Okay.
It's not going into any server. It's not being used to train any large language models, and it's not being sold to anybody because it can't. It's not going anywhere, right? And that one makes it even faster because you don't have to do a network request to do anything. Network requests are, I think, on average like 80 milliseconds for language tool if it's not running on your device. And that just makes it very
faster. Yeah, I noticed that it's quite snappy, quite fast. I was looking for a tool because I have always used the Neovim, the spell thingy that comes with Vim or Neovim, right? And it's good. Highlights the words when they are not part of the dictionary, but it's not enough, right? I needed something like Grammarly in Neovim because I write a lot of text. And I was looking for something, and I don't know. I think I searched in Reddit. I don't know how I found out about Harper, because I was ready to try this language tool thing or other plugins, Neovim plugins, and I don't know. Just found Harper somehow, gave it a try, and I love it. It's one of my. It's not a plugin. I know it's what is it? Is it a language server for people that use Neovim, right?
Yep. Yes, it's a language server. Although, I don't know, I feel like the line between plugin and language server is a little fuzzy in Neovim, just because they're very tightly integrated. But yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Is there anything you want to talk about, Harper? Anything else you want to talk about it?
I would say right now, in addition to it just being like we're trying to make it available everywhere we can, The other big thing about Harper for developers, the reason, like the real reason why we say it's the grammar checker for developers is because we've designed Harper to be very easy to integrate into your application. So like if you have a web app and you want to add grammar checking to your web app, it's as simple as npm install. It really is that simple. Obviously you have to create some UI, but that's getting easier by the day. And it's easy, you know? And we're under an Apache 2 license, completely open source. So it's not like you don't have to worry about your business or whatever. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else I want to mention. Maybe just like beyond Neovim. So Neovim was the original editor we supported, but we've since expanded to VScode, VScode happens through a language server, so does Neovim, Helix. But we also have Obsidian, and we have a WordPress plugin available as well.
How does that WordPress plugin work? I've always been curious. Like, so is it a plugin that you install when you're inside WordPress?
Yeah. So the plugin works. I mean, if you're a person that runs a WordPress site or a blog and you want to add grammar checking, to like,
so it just helps you write better in WordPress, basically the same thing that it does in Neovim, right?
Right. Yep. Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
And then in addition to these, we also have a Chrome extension on the way. I disabled it before we got onto the call, so you're not going to get to see it. But it's in the works. I'm really excited about it because there's like basically two things that people ask me about most often when it comes to Harper. Is does it support other dialects of English?
Yeah,
it does.
That's one of my questions.
Yeah. It supports all 4 major dialects of English as of, I don't remember the exact date, but a few weeks ago. And soon it will also have a Chrome extension, so you can use it pretty much anywhere you write in the browser. Okay,
interesting.
In addition to all these places.
So is it only English for now? Does it support other languages?
So yes, so right now it is only English. That is an intentional decision by us. We want to make the English experience truly amazing before we move on to anything else. Harper's internals will work for pretty much any European language. There's pretty much no chance of it working for like Chinese, for example, just because we leverage the like English just does not have very many characters. Or most European languages only work with a pretty small set of characters, but Chinese and Japanese, they all have huge character sets, and it just doesn't work with the framework that we've built out.
And are there any plans for something like Spanish, for example?
To directly answer your question, no. We don't have plans to expand beyond English because we see English as being a very complicated beast to tackle, and like I said, we want to make it truly amazing. Part of the weakness of other open source grammar checkers like Language Tool is that, well, Language Tool is great. Let's be clear; it's a really amazing tool. You should use it if it fits your use case. They've spent a lot of time making their support for languages other than English very good. But that's been at the sacrifice of the English support itself. So Language Tool's English support could be better. They just haven't invested the time into it because they've been spending their time on other languages, which is fine, which is great. And that is the use case. And if that is important to you, you should absolutely use Language Tool. Right now, we're focusing on English, making the English support really, really good before we go on to anything else.
Okay. So no plans short term to support other languages. Okay, wonderful. Yeah. Too much stuff I think would need to happen for you to support other languages. Okay. But thanks for letting us know about that. And
that said, if you are interested in adding support to another language or for another language to Harper, we're open source and we welcome contributions. So I would love to see someone open a PR about this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that I personally don't have time to do English and something else, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're open to it. Okay, wonderful. Something that I noticed when I was playing around with Harper is the GitHub account that it lives in. and I noticed that it's in the automatic account. I thought it was going to be in your account, but it's in automatic. Would you, or can you share something about this, or I don't know, anything you want to let us know about that?
Yeah. So Harper was originally a project that I worked on in my free time. Whenever I had a moment to spare, I would work on it because I saw it as kind of like a productivity multiplier for everything else I did. Because at least for me, writing is a really important part of my development workflow. So if I can write better, write well, that sped up everything else, my professional academic life. So I would work on Harper in my free time. And in December, Automattic reached out to me, or before December, but it was finalized in December. Automattic reached out to me and they offered to basically hire me to work full time on Harper and all of its like related peripheral components. And part of that was just like, this is now an Automattic thing. They're sponsoring it, so it makes sense for it to be under the Automattic org.
Okay.
Yeah. That said, it's still under Apache 2. Automattic is amazing. They're probably the single largest company in terms of like open source commitment. We really do believe that open source is one of the most powerful ideas of our generation. And so Harper's there are no plans to make it closed source or anything like that. It is an open source project. It just happens to be under the Automattic org.
Okay, so it was acquired basically. I think you shared this article with me. I'm just gonna open it here on my browser. I'm just sharing my screen right now. Let me just fix this a little bit because I have the lights all over my face. There we go. Okay, so I can share this with everyone watching this, right? This article.
Yep.
It explains what happened and all that stuff. So if someone wants to know more a little bit about this, I'm gonna leave this in the video description so you can go and read there, right? And
Yep.
Are you working on Harper by yourself now, or is there a team working on it?
So Harper is interesting in terms of just like full-time commitment. I'm probably the only one, but I'm definitely not the only person like contributing. We have so many people have open PRs and tweaks and little fixes to Harper. There are a couple people, you can look at the GitHub repo, that are doing just truly amazing work, contributing when they can. So I would not say I'm the only one with commit access, I suppose, is the real technical. But I'm definitely not the only one working on the project.
Okay, so let's say that I remember that I detected that it was not identifying when I had a duplicate word, right? So what should I do in that case? Should I just create an issue in the GitHub repo?
I would say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
Like as a user, if there's someone in Neovim using Harper, they just go to the repo, create an issue, or when they detect something? Yep.
Yes. If you encounter a problem with Harper, the single best thing that you can do is open an issue and just give us an example text or just a snippet that replicates that problem. You don't have to give us too many details about like what platform. I mean, it'd be nice if you gave us details about what platform you're on and that kind of thing, what version of Harper. But if you're busy and you don't have a lot of time, but you find an issue in Harper, just take a screenshot or just copy and paste the problematic text, and we'll try and get Harper to not have that issue anymore. So even if that could be a false positive or a false negative,
Okay.
Either way, we want to hear about it. That makes everything easier.
All right.
Yes, English is a very language in general is a very complicated beast, and the only way we can kind of find these edge cases is through people. I mean, we have a couple other methods that I would love to talk about, and we can.
Yeah,
Using
whatever you want to
LLMs,
share.
that kind of thing.
Whatever you want to share is fine.
Well, I don't want to get too off track, but yeah, to just answer your question, just open an issue. If you would like to try and get into the code, we have amazing documentation, and you should absolutely try. It would be a really great learning experience. I've talked to a lot of people who have opened PRs on Harper and been like, wow, this is so cool. Being able to contribute to an actual open source project, I didn't realize it was this easy. So
Okay.
I would love PRs. We welcome them. But if you only have time for an issue, that's more than enough.
Okay. And is there questions that you get asked all the time that we can cover in here, right? Because there's a few of. Do you have any common stuff that you want to share here for everyone that's going to go into the repo and ask for something that you know that you have asked or answered a lot of times? Is there something you want to share here?
I mean, we've already covered two of them. The two most frequent things people ask me about Harper are
English.
like language support, right?
Mm.
English, what dialects of English? The answer is all of them now. And then Chrome extension, which we're working on. We have a PR open for it. Hopefully it'll get merged the next week or so. Here it
Okay.
is.
Oh, there it is. Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
And
else?
this extension is intended to work similar to Grammarly, for example, right?
Right.
Okay.
I've been postponing the creation of a Chrome extension and a desktop app because those kind of fall in the same category.
Mm-hmm.
Where the general idea is you start with something basic and it kind of covers every case, and then you have to slowly refine it over time.
Mm-hmm.
I've been kind of postponing that until we reach like a critical point of actual utility. Like Harper's really great for taking quick notes, that kind of thing. But it hasn't been until we added the dialect support where it's really become like a truly formidable grammar checker for a wide variety of use cases.
And you mentioned an application. Are there plans to create a desktop app or something?
Well, we're going to start with, like I said, the problem with like a Chrome extension or a desktop app is there's like a lot of edge cases that we would have to handle. Like the most common complaint about Grammarly that I've received is the fact that like if you open Grammarly in Obsidian, for example, you're not going to get great support because Grammarly isn't aware of like code blocks or headings or anything like it's not understanding the rich text or the context that your work is lying in, right? It's just taking the contents of Obsidian or whatever app and treating it as plain text. And that leads to a lot of like erroneous false positives that just doesn't make for a very good experience. So we're going to start with the Chrome extension. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just wondering, what would be the purpose of a dedicated desktop app? I don't see I know for sure that I wouldn't use it, but who would use it? That's my question, basically. Like, what's the use case of a desktop app?
I see. The main use case is just like I've had people be like, I need Harper in Discord or I need Harper in Slack. And we can't make extensions for Discord or Slack because they don't have like the capability for that. So the only other option is to create a desktop app that uses your device or your operating system's accessibility APIs. This is what Grammarly does. It looks at the accessibility APIs and uses that to do grammar checking for Discord and Slack or Microsoft Teams or whatever.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's plans for that as well. The Chrome extension first and then the app in the long future, maybe?
Um, I could see an app happening. Yes.
Okay.
I'm hesitant to make guarantees on this just because I approach development in kind of a discovery fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to see if like I don't know if people will actually use a Chrome extension. People ask about it a lot, but that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean people actually would find that valuable, right?
Yeah. If
Um,
they will switch from Grammarly to Harper, right? Like, yeah, that's a
yeah.
good point. Okay. Thanks for
Um,
sharing. Yep.
yeah.
We already covered that it works in multiple, not only IDEs, but also applications like Obsidian, even in WordPress, and a lot of different stuff. Even Emacs. What is
Yep.
Emacs? Emacs is not an IDE. What is it? Is it like an operating system or something? Okay. So I have a friend that uses Emacs. I don't know if he has installed Harper, right? But it's not too complicated to get it running in Emacs. Have you tried it in Emacs or no?
I have not tried it in Emacs. I know there are people who have used it in Emacs, and
Mm-hmm.
I've asked them for like concise documentation about it.
Okay.
From what I understand, Emacs is like such a build your own system that it's hard to like. It's just a language server, but there's not. It's not like nvim LSP config where there's like a centralized repositories of language server configurations. You have to do it yourself a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm not sure what the experience looks like there.
Okay. Okay. So
Um,
we started at the end. We didn't go in order in these. So is there anything you want to share about you? I think we already know you a little bit based on everything that you have shared. Is there anything you want to share about you? Do you have a blog post, a YouTube channel, newsletter? Um,
yeah. So I don't have a newsletter. I don't have a YouTube channel. I do have. I don't want to call it a blog, but it is. It is totally a blog.
okay.
Um, ElijahPotter.dev. That's where you can find me. I have links to everything that you might find relevant about me. Harper. I also kind of semi-frequently write on here. Um, Although I would say that it's not really for the purpose of like informing a broad audience. This is usually like for example, the general policy in Harper is you should just open a PR as soon as you have something. Just leave it as a draft if you're not ready yet. But I really like the idea of people just opening a PR when they have something so that we can see like who's working on what. And so like this kind of thing that doesn't really fit into the documentation, but is like kind of that general idea, something that I can link to.
Mm-hmm.
That's what goes on here. So
Okay. And is everything related to Harper or anything related to you personally? Like if you switch to a new editor or something, you're gonna post it there. It's just Harper related stuff in your blog post.
I would definitely say, I mean, there is a lot of Harper related stuff. Like this is definitely Harper related, sort of Harper related,
Okay.
Harper related, but it's definitely not all Harper. Like this is definitely not Harper related.
Okay.
You should read this, by the way. It's a very good book.
Okay. Interesting.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So
I
that's
will
like
not be. Oh,
no. Go ahead.
I will not be posting about switching to a new editor because why would I? Neovim's
Okay.
just so good.
We're gonna touch on that. We're gonna touch on that in a little while. Um, I am curious. Why are you using Neovim? Okay, and you want to talk about a little bit about the experience of being an open source maintainer. How does it go? How does it feel? Is it a lot of work? How does it go with issues, discussions? Is it a lot of burden of maintaining open source? And how long have you been doing it?
Uh, let's see. I would definitely not call it a burden. I know that's a word that people use a lot when it comes to open source maintenance, um, because, and this is true for some projects where it is like it's critical infrastructure and it's something that you need to do, or maintenance is something that you need to do to make things continue working, and that there are people relying on you to build something or keep something running, keep something free of bugs and security problems. I wouldn't use burden to describe maintenance of Harper for two reasons. One, we don't really have any security concerns. Harper is essentially just like we're not doing network in the vast majority of cases. We're not doing remote code execution of any kind. Like it's really very self-contained, and I won't say the only, just because there's always surprises, in which case we would be there to handle them. But the vast majority of potential security problems with Harper come from the consumers of our libraries. So if you're consuming Harper and maybe you're not loading the right WebAssembly binary or something like that, that's not us. That's not the Harper team. That is something that you need to consider. You need to look at. But yeah, so I wouldn't say it's a burden. It's a lot of fun, actually.
Okay. So
because
overall, it's been a good experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I caught you there. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, it's a good experience. It's a lot of fun, because I get to hear about people using Harper in all sorts of interesting scenarios. I think someone's using them on YouTube transcripts, that kind of thing. Weird edge cases. And I don't know. It's a very rewarding experience to come across someone in real life. This happened multiple times, and they're like, "Yeah, so I was using Harper the other day," and they don't realize that I'm the guy that made it. And that's partly because I live near a college campus, and we have a lot of college students that use Neovim for notes and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay. And let's see, what else do we have here? Just to get, a little bit more. Let's see. We've been here for 30 minutes. I think we won't have enough time to go through all of the questions that I have here, right? So we want to share two of your favorite music bands, if you have any, just to get
I'm a big fan of Watch House. They're like I don't even know a folk kind of music. They just feel very raw. And then also, I don't know, who doesn't like Taylor Swift? Let's be honest.
Okay.
Let's be honest. If you don't like Taylor Swift, you might not have a soul.
I think I don't have one then.
Oh! You know what? To each their own. To each their own. Tay-Tay is not for everybody.
Yeah, well, I think I have heard her. I don't even know, to be honest. Of course that I have heard her, but I'm not, oh, that's Taylor Swift, I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, it maybe plays in the background, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do spend a lot of time around children, and they are obsessed.
Oh, into that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, definitely. All right. So Watch House and Taylor Swift, you would say that are the ones then. And you have any favorite movies?
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver. What is that?
It's like this.
Is it a movie?
Yeah. It's like this awesome action movie. It's got a great story, great music, just the whole thing scored so well. It's just, I don't know, it's just a really good movie. It's hard to put into words.
This is one of my favorite actors. What's this guy's name? This is Ray Charles, right? The guy that did Ray Charles. You watch Ray Charles by any chance?
No, I haven't.
Oh, hold on. Ray. This guy. This guy's not Jamie Foxx. Is that Jamie Foxx?
Yep.
Man, this is such a great movie. Okay, I haven't watched this one, but if Jamie Foxx is in there, I will for sure check it out.
Yeah. I'll have to watch Ray Charles.
Oh yeah, you
I
should, man.
I I love backstories on like musicians. It adds so much depth um, to the music, I think.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, no,
definitely.
Baby Driver is very good. Um, and I don't know who doesn't like Forrest Gump.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Forrest Gump is a very good movie.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Wonderful
Yeah.
movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't met someone that doesn't like Forrest Gump. And are you into video games or I don't know?
I used to be. I haven't had time these last couple of years. Um, honestly, um, my little brother, he's 6 right now, and he's
Hmm.
really into Minecraft.
Oh,
So if there were a video game that I'd be playing, it would be that.
okay, okay, interesting. How old are you, by the way? You seem pretty young. If you want to share, of
Uh,
course. If not, it's okay.
I'm 20.
20?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so not an aged man yet.
yeah.
Although sometimes I feel like it. I'll get like cricks in my spine.
Uh-huh.
I'll be like, oh, it's getting there.
Yeah, sitting the whole day. Yeah, that
Oh yeah.
makes your back hurt. I don't do too
Yep.
much activity. I go to swim 2 times a week. That's the only thing I do. But I should take physical activity more seriously. I should go to the gym and all that stuff. I don't. But nah, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, I feel the same way.
20 years old. Yeah, you seem pretty young. And you have a successful open source tool already. Developer, is that your main? Well, you're developer for sure, right?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful.
Um, I don't know. I think I just gotten very lucky that I've happened upon something that people find useful.
And that's the thing. That's the thing.
Yep.
You found an opportunity. You found something that the community needed, that everyone needed, and you just did it, and that's wonderful. That's actually pretty great. And what do you use to take notes? Do you use Neovim, Obsidian, or something?
It's complicated. That's the rough of it. Um, I used to take notes, like I said, in Neovim, and I still do. Um, the vast majority of the time, if it's just like I need to record information. But if I'm like trying to really get in depth on something, I I have one of these. I don't know if you've seen these. It's like a note taking like e-paper tablet. It's called Remarkable.
I haven't. So
It's like
you write and it translated to digital text or something, or what is it?
it can. I the big appeal for me is just that it's a big screen, big e-paper screen that I can load
Mhm.
books onto, and I can take notes in the margins.
Oh,
Yeah. So if I'm really trying to get in depth on a topic, like if I'm reading like a linguistics textbook or something like that,
hmm
that's what I use this for. But for the vast majority of use cases, I'm using either Neovim or Obsidian if I'm just trying to like polish. If I'm trying to focus on polishing the Harper Obsidian experience, I'll use Obsidian.
okay.
Yeah. Generally, actually, I would say as a general rule, it's whatever I'm focusing on improving that week. So if I'm working on improving the WordPress experience, I'll be taking notes in WordPress.
Okay, makes
If
sense.
I'm working on improving the Obsidian experience, I'm taking notes in Obsidian.
hmm
You get what I'm saying?
Yep, makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And when we were not recording yet, you mentioned that you use Hyprland, if I'm not mistaken. So Linux, you seem like a macOS guy. Why are you using Linux?
Wow. Wow. No, I'm actually I don't see any problem with that. I used to be really into the OS flame wars, but I actually see appeal for everything except for Windows actually.
Man,
Um,
just let me pause you right there. People is gonna think that the people that I bring over, that there's like a conspiracy or something against Windows, because nobody so far has liked Windows. Everyone's like, okay, I'm into Linux, mainly Linux, some of them Mac OS, and everyone's like, not Windows. And I don't do it on purpose. It's just, I don't know. I need to get more Windows guys in here. But
yeah.
yeah, go on.
You're a Mac OS guy, right? Tell me about
Yeah,
that.
Mac OS. Yep. Yeah,
Have you
but
ever tried running Linux?
everyone keeps telling me to switch to Linux, like everyone, because I have my Mac OS really not really customized. But if you look at it, you wouldn't notice that it's Mac OS, right? If hold on, let's see what's happening here. So, for example, if I switch to my screen,
Hmm.
you would know it's Mac OS. You're like, what kind of Linux is this? It's just the little apple that I left there, so people know that it's Mac OS. But yeah, everyone tells me the same thing. You should switch to Linux. But I do love Linux. I run it only in servers. I have used it for years. I don't use a desktop environment. I just deploy a server. Debian is my operating system of choice. I just deploy them and I just SSH through them. And yeah, but not for the desktop. I'm not ready to take that jump yet. And what about you?
Uh, yeah, the desktop's a pretty big leap. I think this might fly in the face of a lot of people. The main reason that I use Linux on the daily is for the desktop. There's macOS is great, actually. I think it's a really polished experience, and I think it works for a lot of people. I think it's great. Windows is also great if you use WSL. Um,
Yeah, for sure. I agree on
yeah,
that.
um, but neither of them allow you to truly like customize the desktop experience how you like it. And I've gotten to a point where I cannot use a computer for more than a few hours at a time if it doesn't have my specific like key bindings and hyperland set up.
Oh, yeah.
Um, it's not even I wouldn't even like hyperland's okay. I think it's fine. It's got a few like reliability issues. But the main reason I use it is just because it would take so much time to get used to anything else.
Okay.
Um,
And did you get started with Linux, or did you get started with something else?
my first computer was a Linux machine.
Mm-hmm.
I used Windows after that for, I want to say, 5 years, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've been running Arch with Hyperland and wezterm for,
Western.
yeah, for, I want to say, 4 years now, maybe.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Arch. And why was the first one Linux? Like, that's not something most people would do. Usually you get a computer and you get it with Windows. Right? Like, I don't know, my parents got me a computer and it had Windows installed. I didn't even know that something else existed. Like,
yeah.
you, who influenced you into Linux, basically?
Um, so my first computer was a machine that so I like did odd jobs to like raise money as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I eventually built up. I think it was like maybe $300,
Mm-hmm.
and that you can't get a great machine for
Yeah.
that price.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to build a desktop from scratch, or
Mm-hmm.
not from scratch, obviously, but like from components. Um, and while I was doing that, I don't even remember the context. Someone told me just that I should approach Linux and that'd be a really great way to learn how computers work.
Mm-hmm.
And so I installed Linux Mint on that first machine. It was so confusing, but I muddled through it. I eventually switched to Windows because I wanted to play video games,
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
you couldn't do that on Linux at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You just couldn't, other than maybe like Minecraft or something. Um, So I switched to Windows, and then I eventually switched back to Linux after I had been using a Raspberry Pi for like some random server things for a while, and I felt confident enough. And I haven't looked back. Except at my old job, they made me use Windows, and that sucked.
And yeah, with WSL could be, but you still have that hypervisor in there, right? That extra layer that makes things slower. That's the only way that I can use Windows as well with WSL, but I just rather not use it at all. I don't game anymore, so I don't have a reason, but I do understand. If you play games the whole day, I would go with Windows. Well, people say that nowadays you can play whatever you want in Linux, but I would go with Windows either way because it's just simpler. And if you do Windows application development, of course, you have to use Windows. And
Right.
What are your thoughts on Mac OS? We already discussed Windows. What are your thoughts on Mac OS? Have you used it or no?
I have used it just for like a month or so total because I had like a 2014 Mac machine lying around and my Linux machine was broken. It was in the shop. And it was okay. I thought it was fine. Like I said, the main thing that I was missing was just the desktop. Like pretty much everything else, like with Homebrew, and you can install whatever terminal emulator you want. It's a pretty good experience. I just couldn't get used to the key bindings.
Yeah, it takes time to set everything up. That's the reason why I don't switch to Linux, because I have all my keybinds here already, right? So if I want to switch to the terminal, it's just a single keybind. If I want to switch to another app, if I want to switch the scenes in OBS, man, I have it set up to my liking already. So switching to Linux would involve, setting up different keybinds at the OS level, right? Neovim is fine. I can run Neovim, doesn't matter where I run it. So yeah. And do you use of course you use a window manager in Linux. Which one do you use?
Hyprland.
Hyprland, you mentioned that, okay. Do you use it in VSP mode, or I don't know what the other mode is called, stack?
I think I use the master layout. I think that's what it is.
So it partitions the screen, like every time you open an app, it partitions the screen?
So here, actually, hold on. I can show you.
Okay, yep.
In master mode, there's a master window. Mm-hmm. And for me, I set that to be on the right side.
Okay.
And if you open any additional windows, they'll open. So it's not binary partitioning. I have a main thing that I'm focusing on. This is usually like Neovim, and then I have a couple side windows. So this is maybe like if I'm working on a web app, I'll put it here, and then I'll have like documentation or something here.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So your main screen is going to stay there all the time, the main application, and any others that you open are just going to open on the side then.
Right.
Okay. That seems quite useful. I guess it would be something similar to what you see on my screen right now. I keep this the main application always on the left hand side, but I also keep this other thingy where I take the notes on the right side. But if I switch to my browser, for example, terminal, if I switch to any other application like YouTube or whatever else, it's always there on the main screen. Okay, interesting. And are you a single monitor person or multiple monitors?
Either. I'll use multiple monitors, so I have one. But I'm a pretty nomadic worker. I can't stay in the same place physically for too long without losing focus.
Okay.
So I try to move around every couple hours. And just by that nature, I tend to be working from a laptop a lot of the time.
Okay.
But usually I try to organize my day so that in the mornings, that's like deep work mode. That's where I'm trying to do one really difficult task. and in those cases, I'll try to stay like at a proper desk with a dedicated monitor, and in addition to my laptop.
Do you find it a little bit difficult when you switch? I only work with a single screen because I want the workflow to be exactly the same, right? So if I have the laptop and the external monitor, but the laptop is always closed. And if I grab the laptop, I'm just on the screen laptop. The reason is because if I'm only working on the laptop, I want the workflow to be exactly the same. I don't want to be moving applications around. I just want it to be the same. Do you find it difficult when you switch from 2 monitors to 1?
No.
No?
But I think that is just because my workflow is pretty much like, if I have a second monitor, that monitor, the only reason I'm using it is because it's like more comfortable, because it's like higher up and I'm not staring down at a screen.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm still using basically the same workflow, where I have like my master layout with Neovim on one side, and then documentation and the running app.
Okay. Mainly on that monitor then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think we're pretty much in the same boat then. I'm not really using my laptop screen.
Yeah.
Sometimes I will, but it's not really important.
Yeah, me neither. I just use it when I unplug it from the desk and I move it somewhere else. Yep. And you mentioned that you use wezterm, right? Why?
I just really like that you can configure wezterm in Lua. So a lot of for example, I use light mode during the day and dark mode at night, which if you set up in Linux is like a little bit more complicated, because you just need to do extra work. Like in Neovim, I use a short Lua snippet that checks the time and sets the color scheme based off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to use that same code in wezterm is huge.
Okay.
I've been using it less because I've been using tmux more, but I used to use wezterm's native terminal multiplexing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main reason. It's also just, I don't know, very polished. Fonts work nicely in it. You get ligatures and everything. It's just a, I don't know, very polished experience. It may not be as fast as like Alacrity or however you pronounce it.
But there's a setting. Have you checked this? Let me just show you on my screen real quick, because I did have an issue with wezterm FPS. I thought wezterm was slow. I even made a video about it, because wezterm, I switched from Kitty to wezterm, and I immediately felt that it was slower, right? Until, I don't know, someone in a YouTube comment let me know about this. Max FPS 120. My monitor is not 120. My monitor is 75 hertz. I don't know how this works. I don't know anything. I know anything about gaming and all that, resolution and refresh rates or anything. But this actually did it for me. And it's the same performance in wezterm, Kitty, Ghosty, Alacrity. I don't feel a difference. But you should.
So wait. Hold on, I'm gonna set this right now. Config.max FPS equals 120. That's it?
Yeah. Yep. I'm inside config here.
Let's see. If I go
You can share your screen. You want me to share it?
Sure. Well, I already changed it. I'm working ahead. Oh my gosh, that feels so nice.
Right?
That's crazy.
Yeah. I spent working in wezterm like for 2 months with, or maybe a month, with that. It felt laggy, and I was like, man, wezterm is perfect, except for it's laggy, it's slow. But someone told me, no, just change the setting and you'll see a big difference. And I did.
Nice. That's actually huge. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. And have you tried any other terminals? Have you tried Ghosty, for example, or since wezterm works so fine, there's basically no need?
I used Alacrity for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and then I switched to wezterm, and I just haven't had any reason to switch to anything else. It works.
Yep. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And
Do you
your
like
ID?
Ghosty?
I'm using Ghosty, but for no particular reason. Well, I'm using two actually. The one on the screen right now is Ghosty, the main one, and the one on the
Okay.
side, on the right hand side, is Kitty, right? And both of them work fine. I don't use wezterm because wezterm is like my backup terminal in case that, I don't know, I switch away from Ghosty. I will definitely go back to wezterm, but I don't have a specific preference. They work all great. They allow me to view images inside Neovim, which is a big point for me. So either of the three work fine. And the IDE that you use is Neovim. Why is that? You don't look like a Neovim guy. Oh man, I'm just playing with you.
No, well, yeah. No, Neovim's just very good. It's holistic. It does everything that I need it to do and nothing more, unless I want it to do something more. It works pretty much anywhere I've tried. I can do it over a remote connection, which is huge. It's the first text editor that I came across that allowed me to go completely mouseless.
Okay.
Plus, there's just a lot of the functionality for like Telescope is a really, really, really amazing plugin. And you can find similar things in other IDEs, but I've personally not really enjoyed how they're set up. I use Telescope with Frequency, which is
wonderful. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
someone
there are
told
other
me
IDEs.
that's not a word. Someone in the comments told me it's not a word, but I also call it frequency.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a word. It's a word. Yeah, I appreciate the level of control it gives me. Overall. Plus, it also brings me pretty close to, I don't know, like I just learned a lot about how text editors work from setting up Neovim. Like you can use, like, even from a document editing standpoint, just like in a general sense, like you can use Word or Gutenberg or Google Docs, and you're not going to understand how any of the low-level things work, which is fine for most people.
Yep.
But as programmers, we're spending like a significant portion of our waking lives working inside these things, and so it's very much to our advantage to understand how they work, because what you learn inside of Neovim also applies to like any other text editing experience you can work with, right?
Yeah, and you learn a lot. For sure, you'll learn a lot by playing around with Neovim. How long have you been using Neovim?
I've been using Neovim 3 or 4 years now.
3 or 4 years? That's a lot. I've been using it for a year only.
Okay. And how has it been? Because like learning it when I learned it is dramatically different from if you were to try and learn it now. Because like now you have all these distros and out of the box setup experiences.
Yeah, the distros, man, it's 50-50. Or you love them or you hate them, right? But it was tough, really tough, coming from VScode into Neovim. I have always used Vim, but in servers, right? Just to edit config files, stuff like that. But it was tough because you have too many options, too many choices, too many plugins, too many settings. So it's it's hard to get there, but once you get there, man, you cannot go to something else because it's very flexible, right? I started with the distribution with the lazygit distro, and I have configured my stuff on top of it, right? So it was really challenging to understand the lazygit distribution and configure it to my liking because it's a little bit complex. But I got to that point already, which I know how to do stuff, but it was not easy at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And what about you? How was it on your end?
Learning it took a lot of time. I built it. I don't remember there being any distros when I first picked up Neovim. So I configured it from scratch, as in I copy and pasted the setup instructions for each plugin. And I was astounded by it seems to be like an unspoken rule in Neovim, like in the Neovim ecosystem. And it's an unspoken rule that you don't see in other editors, especially like JetBrains or VScode. And it's about what the role of a text editor is. It seems like a lot of like plugin developers for VScode are under the belief that you should be focused on the editor as much as possible, right? So you're interacting with like GitHub Copilot. You should be thinking about Copilot often. Thinking about how you can use it. When you first look at the Neovim ecosystem, you get the sense that people are spending a lot of time configuring their editors, which is true, but that's not the goal. The goal is not to configure the editor. Sometimes it is to make it look pretty, and I went through that phase. The goal is for the editor to be out of the way. I personally, and it seems like a lot of people agree with me, believe that I should be able to press a button and it will just do what I want it to do.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
There's no hunting and poking. There's no whatever.
Clicking around, searching in the menu. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. It seems like customizability is very important, but it's not customizability for customizability's sake. Yep. It's customizability with the goal of eventually disappearing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
You get all that power, right? Because, for example, I wanted to, let's say that I'm in a file in Neovim and I want to open the GitHub repo. I want to open GitHub in that file in my browser. I create a key map that does that, right? So I just execute the key map, takes me right there, right?
Yeah.
So gives you a lot of power in that.
Right. I've spent a significant portion of my life in VScode and in IntelliJ. And with both of those, there's a lot of like you can customize it, yes. But that is not like when you go to the VScode or the IntelliJ documentation, their first suggestion is not to customize it so that you get it so that you don't have to solve this problem again. Like I found myself having to bookmark documentation pages for IntelliJ because they either change the behavior every so often, or it's just so unintuitive and such a hidden menu that you have to click on that you have to keep a reference, right? Yeah. There's no way you can keep all that in your head. Where Neovim's like, we're gonna spend a little bit more time up front getting this working.
Yeah.
But once it's working, it's just a key map, and you won't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
You're just bam.
How long did it take you to get it to a point in which you said, okay, it's just minor tweaks from now on? Like, how many years did it take you, or how many months? You remember? And did you stop configuring it already? Because there's new optimizations all the time, right? I'm just working on something and I say, oh, I like the way that Emacs creates headings. I do a lot of Markdown, right? And I installed Emacs a few days ago, and I like the way that it creates headings in Markdown files by just pressing Control Enter in Emacs. That's not something that I could do in Neovim. I was like, that is actually quite useful. I want to have a heading of the same level below the heading I'm at by pressing Control Enter. I did it. Took me, I don't know, like 2, 3, 4 hours maybe to get there, because I had to play with the terminal, with tmux, and with Neovim, the three of them, right? I had to modify them. But now that I have that, I just have it, and it's wonderful. It saves me seconds every time. So how long did it take you to get to your config, or is it still going?
One would argue that I'm still working on my Neovim configuration several hours a day through Harper.
Okay.
Harper is so much more than just a Neovim language server now, but every improvement to the algorithm does affect my Neovim experience. I would say probably this is really, it probably took me about a month of like an hour here or there, like maybe an hour or two on the weekends, each week, maybe a month or two of that before I felt really comfortable and productive. And that's also with me, like, just spending a lot of time practicing the Vim motions, I guess.
Yep.
Since then, I really don't have to touch it. It just kind of works. I don't know. Part of it is like with Neovim, like you can spend a lot of time configuring it, but in the end, it gives you extra energy, I guess. Like when I was using VScode or even more recently with IntelliJ, I could only really focus and work for an hour at a time just because of all of the overhead and the mental exhaustion that comes from having to wait for your editor to do a thing. Or waiting for, or like having to figure out something.
Yeah.
That also comes with just having a very large Java code base. But I find that like having a good Neovim config and making changes to it just gives me a lot more energy and allows me to deeply focus for significantly longer.
Okay.
So I would say it's a multiplicative effect, maybe.
Okay. And you mentioned that you have your own config. What are your thoughts on distros? Any quick thoughts there?
I think distros are fine. I don't really have an opinion. I have a friend who uses lazygit, and he thinks it's okay, but he has a hard time like
changing something.
Yeah. Like he wants to customize whatever. He just can't because there isn't a space for it, or it's not like super clear.
Yeah.
And if you write your config yourself, then it's like you're an expert on it already. You don't need to find a spot. You don't have to read documentation. You just know.
Yeah. Well, it is customizable because I use lazygit as well. There's some things that you have to keep in mind, like merging rules, for example, right? Because lazygit provides you with the default configuration for each one of the plugins, right? So if you go to the page, you're going to let me show you. Okay, that's gonna make more sense. But I do get it. It is really complicated to get started. Let me just switch this, and for example, merging rules, right? So if you're going to configure a plugin, you have to keep this in mind, right? Because you're going to add your rules on top of the config that is already provided to you by the distribution, right? So you can configure anything that you want in lazygit actually, but it does take time, and it's not as straightforward as if you do it with your own distro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
The other thing is like there are plugins like WitchKey
Mm-hmm.
to help you learn the keys.
Yep.
But I found like when I set up the telescope plugin, I made a decision. What's the hotkey for this? And that was so much easier to remember than, which I guess you can solve if you just like when you first set up the LazyVim, you go through each plugin and you make a decision on the hotkey then and there, rather than just like trying to figure out what the defaults are. I guess that would also work.
Yeah, something that I have done a lot in the past regarding that is I've switched to this. I have a key map Alt K, and if I don't remember something GitHub, I just come and search it, right? So leader colon does this, paste the GitHub link, or I don't know, create a GitHub repo with space GC, because I don't remember the key maps all the time. So I just, instead of using which key, I just come here, search for something. And to me, I think it's just easier because I already know all the key maps that I use. Just forget some of them at times. So I tend to use this a lot.
Yeah.
Which explorer do you use in Neovim? File explorer.
That's a great question. I think it's NeoTree?
NeoTree?
Let's see.
Want me to share your screen?
I'm opening up my config. Yeah, go ahead. No, it's nvim-tree.
nvim-tree. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess you started with it and you just left it, right? That's what you got started with?
I think, well, my original Neovim config was a vimrc. Now it's a Lua init file. So my original Vim config had nerd-tree, I think, something like that. But when I switched it all to Lua for like performance reasons, I switched it to just because it looked like the first thing that looked good. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter to me that much because I can configure it with the key bindings that I'm used to. So I just went in and did that when I moved over.
Okay.
Yeah. Most of these I don't have like a lot of opinions on other than like maybe
Harper language server.
Yes, you should use Harper for everything. Just install it. It's no biggie.
Okay, now that we're in this part here, do you have 3 favorite Neovim plugins?
Telescope.
Telescope, okay.
I'm not going to include Harper because that's not a plugin.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
I would. That doesn't count. Yeah, Telescope. Does Tree Sitter count as a plugin? No, that's native, right?
Yeah, but you could call it as one, I guess.
No, I'm not going to include that. Telescope, leap.nvim.
Leap, okay, to jump, okay.
Yep. And then, what else? Those are really... Oh, I like smear-cursor. You've seen this.
Oh, the animation that is like the... Is that a plugin?
Yeah, that's a plugin. I'm not using like neovide or anything. This is just like it animates a smear using.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
Normal terminal.
Because it's in Kitty. Kitty implemented that. Neovide,
Really?
They are the ones that started with that cursor animation. And I was like, how are you doing this in wezterm? So it's not wezterm, it's this plugin then.
Yeah, no, it's this plugin. It works. You can use it anywhere, even if if Neovim's running like on a server, like a remote machine. It'll still work. I do that sometimes. It won't look as good because there's delay, but
okay.
But yeah, no, it adds nothing to my productivity. Literally nothing. It just looks cool.
Yeah.
I was just shocked that it worked out of the box. Like I just pasted in whatever their thing is and it just worked. I was not expecting it to work as well as it does. I
thought it was running on the terminal. I thought it was a wezterm thing because it does look quite nice and it looks, native. It's snappy. So I didn't expect that at all. What color scheme do you use?
Oh,
this is... white light mode. People in the in the comments are gonna be like, why light mode? Well, your eyes are pretty young yet, so I guess they don't hurt too much. I did use light mode for a long time, to be honest with you. I did love light mode, and everyone was like, why do you use light mode? But all of them were old folks, just old people, I guess.
Interesting. Maybe.
But, yeah. Why
My
do you choose-
reasoning is, well, like I said, I like to move around a lot, and I really, really appreciate natural light, especially like in the winter. So I live in Colorado. In the winter, the days get pretty short, and that can like it can affect you. Like it's just kind of dreary, you know. So I try to get as much natural light as I can, and it's very hard for me to see, even with my monitor on full brightness. If I'm sitting in direct sunlight, I just can't see anything in dark mode.
Yeah.
Plus, there is. I actually talked to my optometrist about this. There is a lot of strain that can come from, like, if you're looking at a dark screen or a light screen, and it is substantially different in brightness from like the surrounding environment. If you switch back and forth from surrounding environment to a dark screen, if the surrounding environment is bright, that can cause a lot of strain in your eyes, which can make them hurt. But it also, like, I don't want to have to get new glasses too often, you know? So it's just better for your eyes, or for my eyes at least. I've noticed a difference. I think your mileage may vary, but that's the main reason. So at night, I have it set up so it'll automatically switch to dark mode when the sun goes down.
Okay, interesting, wonderful. And what color scheme is that? Do you have a special color scheme or something?
This is called modus vivendi, is the dark mode, and modus operandi is the light mode.
Okay, it's a little bit small, so if you could make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I used to use day fox and night fox, but this has a higher contrast, and I like that better. It's just easier to read for me.
Okay, great. Now, moving on to something else. What tool do you use to push to versioning control, like to GitHub or whatever? Do you use just commands or, lazygit?
Yep. If we hop over, this is Harper. Yeah, I use lazygit. It's just very useful. It saves me a lot of typing. I know I could probably set up shortcuts in the terminal, but I'm very frequently like switching between branches, doing merging, that kind of thing. The only other than lazygit, I do use the github command, because it saves me the hassle of trying to set up origins for like pull requests and stuff. So I can review a pull request and then pull it down, run it, make sure everything works before merging, and it's just pretty straightforward. I just type in the PR number.
Okay, the GitHub CLI, right?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. But lazygit is like the main one. Okay.
Yep.
And let's see. Oh, you mentioned tmux as well, right? So how do you use tmux? Like, do you use it for the sessions? Do you use it for the splits? Or what's your main use case for tmux?
Pretty much just for splits. Like I said, I used to use wezterm for terminal multiplexing. But I've been recently spending more time on remote machines. And so being able to use the same config for my local machine terminal multiplexing and remote machine terminal multiplexing is just, it makes everything so much easier. So sessions are nice, I guess. Like I can reset my machine, or like log out, log back in, that kind of thing, and it'll still be there. But it's mostly just the multiplexing.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And let's see, tmux. Do you have a special keyboard? Do you use a special keyboard or just the laptop keyboard?
Just the laptop keyboard.
Nothing fancy there.
It's I run a Dell machine, and they just have really fantastic keyboards. Like I've had trouble. Like I have a mechanical keyboard too. I have trouble getting up to the same typing speed on my mechanical keyboard as on the laptop. And like I said, I move around a lot. Having to carry around an extra keyboard is just kind of a hassle.
Yeah, that happened to me with my Magic keyboard, the one that I used before, the Apple Magic keyboard. I love that keyboard. I used to type really fast. I'm not as fast on my mechanical keyboard. I'm still faster at the other one, but yeah, okay. Do you use AI?
I sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Mostly just like ChatGPT.
Okay. Can I switch to your screen or no?
I mean, I don't really have anything to show. It's
Nothing? Okay. Just copy paste ChatGPT, the app itself.
Yeah. I think Simon Willison's point on this is actually really insightful. He's of the belief that chat is currently still the best way to use LLMs for coding or whatever, just because of the level of control you have over context. So you can give them exactly the information you think they'll need. Where if you're trying to use RAG, or I haven't actually tried Cursor for any real programming yet, but you have a lot less control over context. And I've just found that I get much better results when I'm able to give it exactly the context I think it needs, rather than trying to let it figure it out itself.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I also provide it with documentation. I just print PDFs and add the PDF, and I just tell it, read the PDF and get the information from there. Don't just... Yep. Okay. And besides Harper, are you working on any other projects? I don't think you have the time, but...
Yeah, not really. I mean, obviously Harper isn't the only thing I work on. I do work on like other things for Automattic. But in terms of like CLI apps or anything open source, I do have a couple like tiny little projects. I don't think anyone uses them though. I have like, I call it the Olama function color. It's just a little command line app for using Olama in like bash scripts, that kind of thing. I also, when I take notes or write stuff in like Neovim, I use my project Tatum, which just like runs a tiny web server on your machine. So like here, yeah. So I can just hit a key and it'll run up a web server with the current content of my buffer.
Okay.
And it's very simple. Like it's 2 lines of Neovim config to get this working. It's just a little tiny Rust binary that you can install with 1 line.
Oh, okay. There's something similar already for, well, there's a plugin, I think it is plugin, Markdown preview.nvim. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but
I tried it. Well. I tried it. The disadvantage with that is, because does Markdown preview actually run a web server?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I had some very specific needs because I want specific like JavaScript libraries available in my Markdown documents. Like I want to be able to.
Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
Like specific styles or like math rendering, that kind of thing. I want to have jQuery available, so if I do like an inline script in my Markdown file, I can still use like these specific utilities. I don't know if Markdown preview lets you do that. It probably does, but this is just again like I appreciate a high level of control.
Okay.
And I don't have to dig through documentation to figure out how to customize the template that's used for this, because it's just like right here. It's very simple. It just works.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Okay. Do you have any favorite CLI tools, like terminal tools? Doesn't matter if it's a TUI, CLI tool, whatever. Anything you want to share there?
LazyGit is very good. I like ripgrep. I use that a lot in JQ. I try not to stray towards anything hyper specific or obscure for command line tools, because I want to be able to toss them into a reusable bash script, and I can't reasonably expect people to have some random tool
Installed
in the bash script.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The only TUIs I use are lazygit and Neovim.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any favorite applications that you want to share, like desktop applications?
Obsidian's very good, just generally. Obsidian is a very, very well polished experience. I try to limit myself to things that I can extend. So that means browser apps I can extend through a web extension. Command line apps, Neovim, just because it's very, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to have to think about launching an app. It should just kind of work. I don't want to have to dig through documentation. I want to be able to open it up myself. So I use a lot of custom scripts, a lot of web extensions, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But Obsidian's very good, especially with the Harper plugin.
So a little bit of promotion there. And what are your thoughts on homelabs? Do you have one or no?
I run a little homelab with some Think Center machines and an old desktop computer. I don't use it to its greatest extent. It's kind of a new thing. I just started setting it up a few weeks ago, so I've yet to truly explore the possibilities.
And what type of machines, like the microcomputers, or what is it?
Like the tiny mini micro.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah.
I use those too. Yep.
They're sturdy. You can take them. You can kind of open them up and put whatever you want inside.
Yeah.
And they're really small. They actually. So I have a desktop machine, and it's a huge case for the actual hardware that's inside. So
power and noise, right?
Yep. But you can fit the Think Centers inside of the desktop case. So I have two. Yeah, exactly. So I have the two Think Centers stacked on top of each other inside of the desktop case with all of the other hardware that's in there. So I get to take advantage of that cooling.
Interesting.
And it's still like one unified kind of thing. And there's not as much noise, actually, I found. The Think Center machines spin up kind of loud, but when they're inside the case, it's not as bad.
Yeah, mine support up to 32 gigs of RAM, the micros that I have, but I just installed 64 on one of them to see if it worked, and it works just fine. So 64 gigs of RAM. I have 3 of them. Only one has 64, right? I have to upgrade the other 2, but man, you can basically, that's the way that I run Windows. Sometimes I need to run Windows. I even run macOS in a virtual machine in one of those, but it's
That's pretty cool.
It's not great because you cannot increase the video memory. It's only 7 megs and the desktop looks, but it works. All right. And just something that I want to share for the people that would like to get a demo on Harper. Hold on, let me just I created a video about Harper. If there's someone that doesn't know what Harper is, I basically go over like the setup is quite easy. There's not much to set up, right? But a demo and all that stuff, and how I personally use it. So if there's someone that does not know yet, or needs, I don't know, like another demo or more information on Harper, I have this video. Go and check it out. All right. So is there something you want to share before we wrap it up, Elijah?
I can't think of anything specific. Thank you so much for reaching out to do this. I've had a blast. This has been a lot of fun. I hope I've shared some information that's hopefully useful.
Oh, for sure.
Harper is a really great project, and I'm really proud of all the people who have contributed to it. Like I said, we're completely open to contributions. So if you need a good project to get started with open source, Harper's a great place to start. We have a Discord server. So if you need help contributing or finding something in the documentation or in the code, don't be afraid to reach out. Or if you find an issue in Harper, false positive or false negative, either one, just let us know, and we'll try and get to it. Harper is slowly becoming a really formidable grammar checker, even if it didn't have all of the privacy advantages and the memory usage and the CPU advantages. And yeah, I hope that I've shared some good information, and yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No, thanks to you for your time. It's been an hour and a half, well, almost 2 hours because of the tests and all that stuff. So I really appreciate your time. I do love Harper as well. I use it every day. I have it installed. Any Markdown file that I edit, Harper is there. So I think it's a wonderful tool. And if there's someone still watching, if you like this type of content, if you like this type of interviews that I'm doing, let me know in the comments. And I guess that's it for today. Really appreciate it, Elijah. I'll see you
Thank you.
next time.
Yeah, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.